Hey, what's up? Ian here, and I'm back with another review video, and this time I'd like to review this EPZ Q5. I've already unboxed this, so if you haven't watched the unbox video, do check out the link up above here. But in this video, I'm just going to focus on the sound impression, of my sound impression, and my review of this Q5. Now, this video will have time chapters, so please feel free to skip to the different chapters that you are interested in. Now, before I begin my review, just a recap. The retail price for this is $49 US. It's available on EPZ's AliExpress store. So if you guys are interested, do check out the unaffiliated link in the description below. This is a 10mm self-developed ceramic carbon nano diaphragm dynamic driver IEM. It's got a patent number to it as well. It's got a high precision 3D printed chamber, okay, and it's got MMCX. And overall, the design and the build quality of this is a small form factor and very comfortable earphones to wear, and the seal is pretty good for this IEM. Okay, now let's jump straight into the sound. Alright, first let's talk about the drivability for this IEM, and these are very easy to drive. Okay, no problems driving it. I've been using it at about 40%, and I've been using it with my iPhone, iPad, my dongles, and my DAPs. So pretty easy to drive. Now, in terms of gear matching, I would recommend gears that are warm sounding, musical, and fun sounding dongles or DAPs. So I would recommend, of course, similar to FC6, okay, for dongles, and for players I would recommend similar to iPods, right? So these are more analog sounding, more rounded sounding, more musical sounding players and DAPs, which is very suitable for this Q5. And for those gears that I don't recommend, or I mean, you still can use it, it's just that it won't sound as full or as holistic as the M15 and the M15S, right? These will sound more neutral sounding and more lean sounding, and you'll give this earphones a bit more edge to the sound, and not so musical. Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't recommend those. Okay, so that's for gear recommendation. Now let's talk about the tone and timbre for this. The tone and timbre for this is actually pretty warm, fun, and musical, and I would say analog sometimes at times, and overall tone and timbre is not natural sounding, and yeah, pretty nice and comfortable to use a type of tone and timbre. Okay, now in terms of technical performance, these are actually pretty good. Alright, soundstage I would say is wide to the sides, good height as well. Sound separation is not bad, and the imaging is also pretty good. Right, the detail retrieval is okay, because this is more of a V-shaped, well, some sort of V-shaped tuned IEM. Is kind of balanced, but the mids are still a little bit recessed. Okay, so yeah, in terms of detail retrieval, some nuances still can be picked up. In terms of overall resolution and how resolving these IEMs are, they are very resolving. Okay, so that's for technical performance for this. Now let's talk about the sound signature. For that, let me bring up my graph. Okay, so this is the graph of the Q5, and as you can see from the graph, they are quite harmonish. Pretty close to the Harman curve, and the only thing that's a little bit different is actually the bass region, or about maybe the 500 Hertz onwards. They are a little bit above the Harman curve, but other than that, they are pretty Harman sounding and pretty balanced in terms of the overall tuning. So I would say this IEM is actually quite jack of all trades, and it can actually play most of the genre of music which you throw at it, but more leaning towards more of a fun and pop and R&B kind of genre. Okay, so if you're like the general mainstream listeners, right, these are actually very suitable for that. You can listen to all kinds of genre, alternative, pop songs, anything that's on the charts. Okay, this will play it pretty well. In terms of classical, not so much. Jazz is okay. In terms of techno, trance, they are fine as well. This is not a very bassy IEM. It does have good extension to the sub bass, but it's not an elevated bass, so it's quite balanced. As you can see, the level here, the level of the bass and the level of the treble is quite equal, okay, with a little bit of valley here. That's why it's a V-shaped. So yeah, it's not a bassy IEM, but it's sufficient in terms of the bass department. Okay, so in terms of the sub bass, it's got very good extension of the rumble. It's warm sounding, it's fun, it's got balanced note weight, the tonality of it is just nice. So I would say a very pleasing type of sub bass, engaging as well. Good rumble. Okay, in terms of the mid bass, the thump is there, impact is there, just sufficient, in fact a little bit over sufficient, and it does bleed into the mids just a little bit, but pretty engaging. It's warm, musical as well. The thump is there, the slam is good. So yeah, very engaging mid bass as well. For lower mids, well, basically they are all recessed. My instruments, like for example pianos, violins, they are a little bit veiled by the mid bass, but they do still sound clear. Okay, and details being retrieved are still okay. Some nuances still can be picked up, and overall tonality and the balance of the note weight is quite balanced, I would say. For vocals, male vocals and female vocals, they sound pretty good, equally good on this IEM. They don't outshine or anything like that. Male vocals, they do have that balanced presence to it, as in they are not overly authoritative and they are not underwhelming as well. So pretty good well, presence in terms of the male vocals. Female vocals as well. Well, I would say female vocals would shine just a little bit more. They sound a little bit more energetic. There's a bit more sparkle to the female vocals. They sound really bright, very nice, and very forward as well. So they've got a little bit of edge over the male vocals, and they sound a little bit better. So I prefer to listen to female vocals on this a little bit more. Okay, in terms of the treble, I would say the gain of the treble is just nice, very harmonious, and when it comes to guitars, the picks and the overall hits of the snares, they're engaging enough, they're energetic enough, there's enough bite to that hit of the snares, and the cymbal strikes and the hi-hats and as well. So overall, a very good gain to the treble. At the same time, it is a bright treble. As you can see here, the presence is there, just below the Harmon. Right over here, there's a bit of a dip here, but other than that, it's a very good presence in terms of the treble. Some of you who are sensitive to treble may find this a little bit fatiguing, and actually, you know, the Harmon curve, I'm not too sure, but when I listen to this, some, like for example Sex Pistols, they sound a little bit on the edgy side, a little bit too bright. Okay, so but for me, I'm tolerable to treble, so I'm fine with this kind of treble in terms of the harmonious treble. Some of you may not be. Okay, and then for mid treble, it's not sibilant at all, even though there's a peak here, but it's actually a downward sloping curve, so it's not the highest peak. Okay, so it's not sibilant at all from what I hear. Okay, and then as for the air, it's a very airy, and the treble does linger a bit too long and makes it a little bit unnatural. All right, cymbal strikes and hi-hats, that sizzle is a little bit too, yeah, too present. Okay, so yeah, it's quite an airy treble, to sum it up. Okay, all right, so that's the overall sound signature of this Q5. I would say it's actually a pretty balanced tuning, and there are a lot of balanced tuning IEM out there, and I would say this is one of them. But at $49, actually a pretty competitive price. So yeah, in terms of price to performance, and with the kind of tuning and with the kind of sound performance that it gives, I will give this IEM a 3 stars out of 5 stars. Okay, so that's my star rating for this Q5. And actually, you know what, I just reviewed the Let Shure DZ. Let me just go to the graph here, and now this is the Let Shure DZ4, and that's the green line, okay, and comparing with the Q5, if you look at this graph, they are almost identical. Now the Lecture DZ4 is actually $89. This is $49. It's actually $40 cheaper, and I would say, I mean, there's only one driver on this, okay. So in terms of the dimension of the soundstage, technical performance, this will definitely lose out to the DZ4. But in terms of tonality, the tonal balance, and the overall sound signature, they're actually very similar, okay, except for the treble here, but it's just a little bit of the variance. So what I'm trying to get at is that with $40 less, okay, you will get a similar sound signature, but at a totally different level, okay. The technicalities are very different. As I mentioned, that one gives me a more three-dimensional listening experience. This one gives me a more of a layered, one layer type of experience, but both of them sound almost identical in terms of tuning, okay. So in terms of price to performance, I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at. This is only $49, okay. Price to performance, this is actually a pretty good price point for this type of tuning and this type of sound that it delivers. There's a lot more IEMs that is some sort of balanced tuning out there, and it's just too many to compare. But I'm just trying to make a point that this is a pretty nicely priced IEM, okay. Right, so that concludes my overall review for this EPZ Q5. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video and learned something from this video. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and also please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I hope you guys have a great day ahead, and I'll see you again in my next video. Cheers.